Alright guys, Tentacle back again today. Hopefully enjoying your Sunday so far, and today we have to talk about another hectic day of action at the Minnesota home series. A lot of crazy upsets that we're going to talk about today, some really interesting ones. Once again, we get denied this matchup of Atlanta FaZe versus Chicago Huntsmen. We'll talk about exactly how that happened in the coming minutes here. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. Big thank you to Cam Allen for the scoreboards we're going to be going through today. But Series 1 was preceded by this announcement from the CDL. Yesterday we talked about this whole drama surrounding this 45-minute stay tuned break. They do release an announcement. They actually did an initial announcement, then retracted it, and then did another one. So this is what it says. Basically, they said the broadcast system crashed, resulting in a delay of 45 minutes. Now they're going to be introducing this 15+5 procedure, which maximizes the potential delay at 20 minutes. If this ever happens, and if something happens like this again, they will just continue to play the matches behind the scenes, is basically what they say, without a broadcast available, just to make sure it doesn't completely ice the teams like what happened to Seattle yesterday. So yeah, that was their basically resolution to the issue, or at least they did at least attempt to explain what went wrong yesterday in the CDL. So let's go into the matches. Florida LAG was the first one, a very surprising matchup, to be honest. It was the winners round matchup in this group. I thought it was going to be the two other teams, but it doesn't happen. And Mutineers get the better of them in this one. Impressive map number 1. Guerrillas strike back with, once again, very, very solid search and destroy team, as we will see come into effect later in the day. And then the last two maps were pretty comfortable for the Mutineers. Awakening really came into his own. Very impressive debut from him so far. The M4, the MP5, whatever he has in hand, seems to be dominating with it. And on this Ramazza, it was something else. He was like 30 and 18 or something like that. He was just crushing people. And yeah, LAG seemed to have a habit of getting crushed in map 4s. They did it on the first day. They do it again here. But would it happen when they happen to play their losers round matchup later in the day? We will see. Let me make the scoreboard just smaller real quick. So yeah, Awakening with a 173 performance over just 4 maps. So yeah, that's certainly very impressive from him on his debut. 1.37 over the course of it. Mutineers advanced to bracket play without really any hiccups. Game 5 versus Huntsman. Game 4 against the LAG. Second series of the day then was a spicy one. Dallas versus Atlanta FaZe, the other winners bracket matchup. And this started off really, really interesting because the first two maps, Shotzzy was just dominating. And honestly, it just looked like Empire were a completely different class. Like their Hackney Yard, their Gunrunner even, Hardpoint is just unbelievable. Like Shotzzy is unreal on that map. Then game 2 on Ramazza, once again comfortable. Empire always really had this in the bag. So FaZe were getting like mopped off the map. However, they do bring the comeback. And this is where FaZe's domination comes in so handy. Like they're such a good domination team. Pretty sure in terms of statistics, they're the best one in the league. And it really does start the comeback once again, right, as they did to Seattle yesterday. 180 to 129 in this one on the St. Petrograd. And then they bring it back and keep up the momentum on St. Petrograd once again. Then it goes game 5 on Piccadilly. Not the most enjoyable map to watch, in my opinion, for Search and Destroy. That FaZe get the job done when it matters. So yeah, really interesting. Another reverse sweep from Atlanta FaZe to advance out of bracket. Not the end of the world for Dallas. They can still come back and make bracket play as well, as we will see here in the coming minutes. But FaZe get the better of them so far. Definitely the two pre-tournament favourites I had, in my opinion. So yeah, FaZe definitely showing that they are the team to beat right now. Another impressive reverse sweep from them. So you've got to say fair play. This is how it finished up. Shotzzy with a 1.2 KD over the course of it. But Simp and Major Maniac bounced back pretty impressively, especially in those search and destroys. Like Simp with an almost 2 KD in search. That's something that is very hard to replicate for a lot of players, even Shotzzy as well as he is playing right now. The third series of the day then was Toronto Ultra versus the Chicago Huntsmen. And this is where, okay, Huntsmen have gone down to losers. I thought this could have been a pretty difficult matchup for them. I felt like it might go game 4 or game 5, but it doesn't happen. They do a very good job winning this map number 1. Hardpoint 250-245 was close in the end. Then they actually do win a search and destroy and close it out in the domination. So yeah, okay, Ultra had a pretty difficult run into this weekend with Classic not playing on the team due to all these management issues that we kind of talked about a couple of days ago now. But Huntsmen get the job done in a 3-0, and it looks like they were kind of finding their stride into the rest of the weekend and making it work, especially in Search and Destroy. I think this was something like their 9th or 10th hardpoint win in a row in the last couple of events. So yeah, obviously Huntsmen really, really solid in hardpoint. They get the job done in the other game modes as well. That's what you need to see out of a team like this. The overall series standings, Formula had a fantastic one, almost a 1.7. He was just phenomenal this entire weekend, and Ultra could not get anything going at all. So that's how it ended up over there. And then before this Minnesota series, the Rocker come out and say, look, we're going to substitute out Alex for Exceed. There was a discussion in this from, well, the head coach came out and talked about it, Brian Saint, saying that, look, Alex has had issues with his right thumb, so not his left thumb. My first thought was this, like, is auto tack sprint being disabled, like, you know, costing people movement in their thumbs and stuff, but it's his right thumb, not his left thumb. Apparently he's had issues with it for a little bit. He tried to play with it yesterday at like a 0.58 KD or something, so they decided to sub him out. So definitely, hopefully he gets better soon. This is something which I'm surprised we don't see more of, to be honest, like players having issues like this. So hopefully it does get better, because of course these are issues that can affect many people. I'm sure they will affect many people in the future as well in esports, and especially console gaming, and when you have to use your thumbs literally all day. So Exceed substituted in for Minnesota, and they were playing up against the Seattle Surge. So it was a tough match for them, to be honest. They did go up 2-0 though, and in classic Minnesota fashion really, or at least in classic Minnesota Call of Duty home series fashion, a reverse sweep indeed happened. So they go up 2-0. Seattle win a very close domination and close it out in 5. So yeah, Seattle really came into their own at the end. Octane had a couple of great maps. Clearly this Proto team is looking quite good. Then again, Minnesota had a difficult time with this substitution having to happen mid-tournament. You were never expecting too much out of them, but you know, Surge win a series that isn't against the LAG, which is impressive for them. Probably the best Seattle Surge team they've ever put together. So keep an eye on that going forwards as well. Final series standings, Exceed doesn't have the greatest one. Assault has a 1.3. Very consistent slaying out of the side of Seattle Surge as well. Very solid series from Proto and Apathy especially. So good to see from Seattle, but it doesn't really finish off their day particularly well either. So the next series was the real interesting one. We've got Huntsman versus the Los Angeles Guerrillas. And this was a series which I was expecting, after they beat Toronto, them not to have too much trouble with LAG, given that how Florida had just battered LAG aside, really, in the winner's bracket matchup. However, that's not really how things turned out. Map number 1, 250 to 190. Once again, Huntsman win the hard point, but, you know, their Arklov Peak Search and Destroy is just not a map you want to play. If there's a single map you don't want to play against LAG, it's Arklov Peak Search, especially how Huntsman just aren't very good at it. Remember last event when they won against London, they lost the Arklov Peak in the grand finals. Here they get absolutely mollywopped on this map too, so that wasn't ideal. But then game 3 they bounced back with an impressive domination, and I thought this was going to be okay. Like, fine, they'll lose the Search, but they'll win 3-1 in the series. But if they do go game 5, you do have some concerns, right? Because Huntsman Search and Destroy clearly hasn't been very good. LAG Search and Destroy is very good, and LAG managed to steal this game 4, 250-243. Huntsman are up kind of, well, they had some sort of a lead early on, but it doesn't work out for them. And then game 5, LAG take it 6-4. Vivid has a fantastic game 5. I think Pristini had a pretty horrible couple of Search and Destroy maps. But they lose game 5, round 10 to LAG of all teams. Very surprising, to be honest, but if it goes game 5, I'm not overwhelmingly surprised, right? And it's clear to see that Huntsman Search and Destroy is where they are lacking right now and where they need to improve, because their hardpoint is very good, their domination is solid, but if you can't win Search and Destroys against a team like LAG, what chance do you have winning Search and Destroys against Atlanta and Dallas Empire, probably the 2 best Search and Destroy teams right now? So with all that being considered, it just seems that Chicago Huntsmen fell short in their search, and okay, the other things they kind of put together, their hardpoint was decent, but they won a lot of close hardpoints this weekend. This one they happened to lose. So I'm intrigued to hear your thoughts on this down below. Definitely need to go back to the lab, 2-back Thug Lord, you know, like Sender, they need to really focus on their Search and Destroy, because this is just not going to cut it right at the top level, and LAG are really Search and Destroy specialists, and if you're going to lose a single respawn to this team and lose series like this, like, you know, that can't really be happening, right? For a team the caliber of Chicago Huntsmen. So that clearly is the working point right here. Maybe that last win they had at the Seattle home series, where they didn't even need to go game 5, kind of cost them a little bit here, because they felt like they didn't really need to practice Search and Destroy as much, given they'd won every series 3-1. Intrigued to hear your thoughts down below. The first time I believe Huntsmen haven't got out of their group this entire year, and to do that against Florida Mutineers and LAG, once again we get denied this Atlanta FaZe matchup, is you know, pretty crazy, to be honest. So the series finishes like this. Formula's a 1.3. Pristini, as we said, had a really couple of bad maps in Search and Destroy at a 0.2. But, you know, Vivid was very solid over the course of it. And just some great S&D performances across the board, to be honest, from the LAG. As you would expect, Decimate had one of the better series we've seen out of him so far this season. Thought this was funny as well. Thanks to Salmon for pointing this out to me. Bruh, even on the bench, Aches manages to find a way to beat Scump. So, yeah, incredible. If Aches was brought back into the starting lineup, as I said yesterday, they're going to win champs, baby. And yeah, the wait for Huntsman versus FaZe continues. July 10th to 12th in the New York home series. we'll probably talk about this storyline in coming days because it's certainly an interesting one. So the final matchup of the day was Seattle Surge versus the Dallas Empire, and this one was pretty much a whitewash, right? Given that they had a pretty good performance earlier in the day against Minnesota, competed very closely with the Atlanta FaZe yesterday, but Dallas Empire take this one very, very comfortably indeed. This game one, like I'm not really sure why Seattle allowed this game to be played on Gunner at a hard point, because if there's one map where a Dallas Empire is just going to absolutely smoke you, it's probably this one. Shotzi's probably going to go double positive most of the time, as he pretty much did once again. Then the game 2 as well, a comfortable map for Dallas. Seattle looking much, much better in their search and destroys lately, which I have been impressed by. But Dallas closed this out. A couple of closer rounds go their way, and they get the better of it. And then domination wasn't even close, right? You see the last few minutes, like Clayster's just sitting an A-bomb, or an A-flag even, just painting hearts on the walls, while Shotzi just runs around and drops 13 and 13, or whatever his KD was. I think it was 32 and 15 he finished, something like that. So incredible stuff. I think Maven gave, I did a tweet earlier in the day talking about how I think Shotzi might be the best player in the game right now. Maybe we'll talk about that in coming days. I think really it's Simp in contention really with Shotzi right now. Envoy's certainly up there as well, and then some ARs you could throw in like Octane and Wuskin and these kind of guys. Selim, of course, definitely deserves a mention. But the way Shotzi's playing right now, he could be the best player in the game, right? We'll probably talk about that storyline in coming days. So yeah, maybe I'll mention that on stream. And I don't know. I'm intrigued to hear your thoughts down below, as always. This is how it finished up then. So Shotzi with a 1.7 over the course of the series. Crim with a 1.3. And if Crim's got a 1.3 and Illy's got a 1.3, there's just no way you're losing a series, to be honest. And yeah, the slaying on Seattle wasn't quite there. This time, Octane couldn't drop a 1.4 and carry the boys through. So this is what the bracket looks like right now. We've got FaZe, Gorillas, Mutineers and Empire as the semi-finals teams. Definitely surprising to me that we don't get Chicago here, and to be honest, the two teams that made it out of this Group B were the two teams that I didn't expect to, right, which is pretty incredible. There's also this Warzone weekend coming up tomorrow as well that we will look at, starting at 3 PM Eastern time, just before everything kicks off tomorrow. But this is the schedule once again. So FaZe Gorillas, Mutineers, Dallas Empire, 9 o'clock my time, that's 4 PM Eastern, 1 PM Pacific. Intrigued to see how this one goes. I think that FaZe almost certainly should get through Gorillas, because even if it does go Game 5, I'm pretty confident the FaZe can close that one out, whereas with Huntsman, I'm not so confident at all. Then you've got Florida, Dallas. I'm excited for this series because I think that Florida could do some sort of upset here, given how confident and how good they have looked so far this tournament. Then again, you know, Seattle win Game 5 with Atlanta, Mutineers go Game 5 with Chicago, and Dallas Empire completely crush Seattle when they played, so maybe a similar thing happens here. At the end of the day, I imagine FaZe versus Empire matches up in the grand finals, and I predicted in my predictions video that Dallas were going to take it 3-2. I'm going to keep with that same story, even though FaZe did beat them earlier on in the tournament. I'm going to say Dallas takes the trophy this time. Intrigued to hear your thoughts down below. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new as always. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.